Be sussing out. Welcome, everyone. Hello. Everyone, can you all hear? You can all hear. Good. Who is hearing? What is hearing? Who am I? What am I? There's something I want to explore with you all. I don't quite know yet how I'm going to do it. So I've jotted a couple of things down to see if I can get anywhere near it. This is something I've been looking at for some while, and I'm sure I'll be looking at it for eternity. Because quite honestly, we can only actually look at ourselves. So what does this mean? I really could do with a pen because I'm even picking things up now that I want to just kind of jot down whilst I share with you. I don't know if you all agree or whether you actually believe that this life that we see on planet Earth is just a three-dimensional reality. In other words, there's only three dimensions. That could be, for instance, thought, feeling, and somebody. It could be. You have a look. There's somebody who has thoughts, somebody who has feelings, and the somebody is real. You're willing to have a look at this together? Are you? Yes, that's it. Yes, that's a possible. You have to come on. You have to take a risk. Have a risk. Yes, yes, just risk. Sorry, Mary, I meant to pull up your question, so hopefully I'm mentioning it so that somebody can bring up your question as well. We'll include your question in this, Mary. Um, okay. This is what I want to look at with you. Ah, I just remembered. Excuse me a moment, it was a quote from Jesus. I just got to write the quote from Jesus down, so be Jesus, I get it. I don't know why I choose an Irish accent when I speak about Jesus. I have no idea at all. Uh, okay. I'm going to tell you what I put down here, okay? What I've just put down. I had no idea I was going to put this down. This might set this off. Forgiveness is growth, okay? Forgiveness is growth. So I want to kind of enter what I'm speaking about. This comes also from just popping on YouTube, and a scientist comes on and speaks scientifically about a realization that has been here in this awareness, but speaking about it scientifically. I can't do it scientifically. I could probably quote, but basically, he's saying what scientists are discovering, at least he's discovering, that there is no future, which is the same as the Buddhists would say is all is empty. Yeah. And he's also saying there is no future, therefore the future is open. And for some while, I've been speaking of what we are is openness. That's our true nature, openness. We can't really define ourselves as linear unless we use reflections of experiences where we actually create the experience with somebody other than pure consciousness. You see, even what I just said, we'd have to go in and discover what I just said, right? Kind of. Kerry, what do you think? You can nod, you can wink. So he's saying, he's saying the future is open. That is true because there is no future. The future is now. Now don't forget, I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm just putting this forward, okay? He's also saying what they're discovering. They're saying they can measure two particles. This is where, to me, it gets really interesting. They can measure two particles in completely different places. Yeah. And what they're discovering, there's something that goes between the two particles that's not information. It's not information. But it goes between the two particles at infinite velocity. Now, I'm saying to you that we call that awareness or God consciousness or truth. It's not information. The information isn't being passed. And yet they can measure that whatever's gone between those two particles have changed the way of the particle. As it were, the way he put it, one has changed its future, but another has changed its past. I don't know whether you're interested in this. The future is open, but I don't believe we've ever explored enough that so is the past. The past is open. Not that there's somebody there that's going to go back and change it. I'm not saying that. Because most of us, we have to have a past until we see beyond the idea of needing a future. And when you've seen beyond the need of a future, you also go beyond your past. In other words, your past is now open to change. Somewhere, this brings flavors for me in the teaching of Jesus in forgiveness. Because basically, I'm saying that it is consciousness that is learning what it is. It is consciousness awareness that's learning what it is. And once consciousness learns what it is from its perceived past, the past changes. I would suggest he called that the nature of forgiveness, is the past has changed. Not the past of someone, but the truth that the so-called past and future are two particles in which the one power realizes itself and transforms its particles or its creation, its ability to create, its ability to create, its ability to create. Now, if you see my fingers doing this, you also could do this. We've looked at this infinite eight. So I was intrigued in how this particular scientist was looking at this. But most of us have value of identification with our past, no matter whether we liked our past or we hated our past. It gives us the value of a belief system of knowing ourselves or identification with experience, whether that experience is positive or negative, and who can assimilate that, or who can create that. I think it's one of the learning curves in a third dimensional being, the belief that your past is not as open as your future in the present. Because we are the same one, expressing itself, experiencing itself, realizing itself in orbits that seem to be separate, past and future. In fact, we struggle between our past and trying to get to a future. We don't see the connection of the infinite nature of the one who is here now, from which experience arises and experience dissolves. We don't also see how that experience that arises and that experience dissolves. Consciousness tendency in third dimension is to identify itself with a subject and its objects of experience. Are you still with me? Just a little. I'm only just with me too. So I'm interested in what I've just said, and we probably reference how the past is also open and the future is open in the presence of now. So often when one awakens to true nature, we still oscillate between what we're told is our past and the perceived future that we might believe we can create. But while we're still identified with experience appertaining to the relationship of the belief of the subject, then we're still divided. We divide ourselves in our minds between the past and our perceived future of how things could be. And so we're still in duality. Don't have to understand this, please. We just have to listen. That's all I'm doing, is listening. So we're taught to experience our experiences as if they're outside of us. In other words, outside of us are others. Outside of us are things. Outside of us are creatures. Outside of us are stars. Outside of us is wind. Outside of us is fire. Outside of us is the elements. If you look, it's all outside of us. And so our experience becomes outside of ourselves. And not actually within ourselves. So we begin to build a psyche. We begin to build a person. We begin to create something that's outside of what we actually are, and we relate to what seems to take place outside. But we still don't get it that outside is the innermost creation. Everything that is outside is our innermost relationship with what we first are. So we try to come to terms with our outside experiences in the way we believe we should experience those outside experiences inside. And that's duality. So we're looking to have a remedy for our relationships that are outside. And we always draw to us situations, however, circumstances, experiences that we've not actually dissolved inside. We don't yet see our relationship is an innermost one and not an outermost one. An innermost relationship is fifth dimensional. Everything is happening within. It all occurs within. Now you have to leave this really open. So I'm not saying that we have situations that come to us that are within us. I'm not saying that's a constant. What I'm saying is the transformation of energies outside, our awareness learning what it is inside in its reflection outside. So often we don't see how to transform what appears to be an outside relationship within our relationship with ourself. But you have to release this idea that you're a someone. This relationship is with yourself as aware consciousness in the experience of creation just happening. You're coming upon how creation happens from the innermost relationship with you as conscious awareness within. So we're learning somehow, whoever we are, whatever we are, we're learning that everything truly, truly, truly is now. Utterly now. So deeply now. And this now, if you have a look, it doesn't need a past or a future. It's already, as it were, moving at infinite velocity, which is what this scientist is discovering. There's something, he said, there's something, I could even play you the piece, quite unusual. There's something other than information that passes between two particles. That's the same as saying there's something that passes between two or more people. There's more than information. Again, I'm not a Christian, but you might have heard that quote. When two or more are gathered, there I am. Not information, but pure source. So most of us in the early stages of realization, awakening, we're still looking as if we will find answers as one of those particles, as a somebody, as opposed to an other. We're still looking in the realms of creation, outside, but not in the innermost relationship with self and consciousness or awareness as source. We're not looking at that. It's what Ramana Maharshi used to point to in some way. Who am I? So you look into all of our experiences. We relate as if there's something happening outside. We don't relate as to it's all within. And so the third dimensional world is still very pointing to other. When quite clearly people like Ramana Maharshi, for instance, if you mentioned other, he would say, there is no other. Mostly we relate outside. Maybe, for me, this is a pointer, because we have a belief that we have no eternal internal power. Because we don't relate from self to self within. We won't discover that power. What is that power? That power is a knowledge. I am already that. That power is the knowledge. There's nothing that can make me free. I am freedom itself. So this outside idea is we're seeking some freedom and some power outside. And when we awaken, and really begin to awaken, we explore our innermost dimensions, which begin to appear as our inner relationship with all that is. So that then includes the reflections of apparent other, that we now see as not other, but reflections of our own intimacy with ourselves. What this does, if we discover we're ready for this, whoever we are, it puts the power of love back into our own hands. It puts the power of what is, the power of presence, back as our own selves. It has no need to be given away, because it's already totally what I am. So if we get this somehow, I don't know how this is reaching any of you. If we begin to get this, we have no need to have a past or a future. We have no need to fear the past, no need to fear the future, because the past and the future, so called, is open to our own discovery of the depths of what we are. That is healing. That is true power of love. What we call past, what we call future, is the openness that we are. The willingness to give away this idea we are not the self, the source, ourselves. Look at that in the collective. Is it possible for, as it were, a group of people, maybe the entire planetary consciousness, to release the idea of past in the present? If you look, we might discover that what we call our past is the past of the collective. What we call our future is the future of the collective. What if everything is open because I am openness? Would that give infinity, infinite awareness as the possibility of our existence here and now? In other words, would we exist for anything other than the discovery of what we are? Would we build a past through holding on to a belief system that we've gone way beyond? Would we need a future? Or would it just unfold because of our own true present nature? I'm interested to see what you hear here, but I must admit I have to quickly go somewhere. I really do. Can somebody just talk to them? I'm back. I'm allowed to rush off like this, you know. Mm. Okay. Are you all still there? Maybe you had to have a visit too. Okay, so we're going to just look into this a little more. There's a big belief on this planet that we're all individuals. There's also another big belief on this planet. Please don't believe anything I'm just about to say, okay? There's a big belief on this planet that we're all individuals. There's also a big belief on this planet that to be free is a choice. Now, don't believe anything I'm saying. It's foolish to believe you need a choice to be free when you're already freedom itself. You are what some people call God or Source. It's foolish to believe that we're individuals because we're a collective field of energies. This planet, just like the universe, is a ball of moving, living forces, life forces. It's the same as saying, any one of us could say this now, I am life. But the moment I say I am life, I say to you, that's inclusive of all beings throughout the universe. I'm not a separate life. I am this life. I am this one. I am the indescribable. I am this moment that knows no past and knows no future. I am this one. Our, our difficulties happen when we start to believe we're individuals and we try to battle the forces of choosers, where people begin to choose. You didn't used to do this when you were a baby. There was no choice. Where people begin to choose to be an individual. But that leads to pain and suffering because you are the whole. You are the total. You are all of life. So the moment we begin to seem to want to choose to be an individual, we tend to select what we want to experience. Now, if you have a look at this, you might hear, and this might be a ridiculous statement that you've just heard from him. You might hear that you want to be an individual. You want to be different from everybody else. You want life the way you want it. To be that individual and to choose. But what if that chooser creates the past, the momentum between past and future, the dualism that we see, if we do see it, in the movement of the earth, in all the wars that happen on the planet? Is it choice that's causing all these difficulties? I'm actually going to say yes. If you look inside, you might notice that you can have choice or you can just go. You can have choice or you just surrender. See the difference between the chooser and the one that just opens. The one that just opens is the one realizing what it is constantly. And will discover profundity beingness, mystery, wonder, openness, abilities that are source abilities. The chooser separates themselves from the totality of life. So if you have a look, you have to discover this yourself, please. I'm not asking you to believe a single word that I'm saying. You might see there's much information on this planet right now that you can believe, and you believe this information or this information, all sorts of information. What if you just gave up all belief? What would you be with no belief system? Who would you be? Would you move frantically? Or would you just simply discover your own innermost unfoldment like a miracle, simply taking place because there was no one there to choose a particular polarity, a like or dislike? It would just be so natural. Now, if you look on the earth, when I mean the earth, I mean the world, endless bartering of choice, endless passing of information. But have you ever, and I suggest you have you ever stood next to somebody and it wasn't information that passed between you? It is what one really is that passed between you. Have you ever been in a group of people, strangers, and it was not information? Oh, this is my group. I like this kind of group. It was just more than information that passed between you. What I'm pointing to is when we as consciousness get this, the natural openness of what we are, no matter what information passes through, becomes our blessing, becomes our love, becomes our bliss, our wonder, our gift to each other. Not information is not a gift, but what we deeply already are is gift. And through that, the gift of dissolving this chooser is quite natural. This gift of dissolving this loser is quite natural. This gift of dissolving this individual, separate sense is quite natural. This gift of wonder, where the so-called past and the so-called future is open, and miracles become natural. Then we might see each and every one of us is a miracle, a natural miracle. Laura, you are a natural miracle. Simon's a natural miracle. We're all natural miracles. Not one thought, just miracle. Because if we look, we only ever have to think about things. But what if there are no things? Just spacious, dancing, blissful miracles appearing as creation. And you find your mind is swept clean of the idea of fear and lack, and that you could ever get anything wrong, or that you did anything at all. It was just a kaleidoscope of energies, seeming pulling you to identify with those energies as somebody. But you've never been a somebody. You've always been a beautiful nobody, a beautiful everybody. Beautiful love. Love's miracle. The moment we begin to awake, we're releasing this pattern of identification with the personalization of experience. We're releasing this bubble of colliding information since apparently time began. It's been creating or doing its best to create individuals when there's only God here, and it's the one who's listening to these words now. So whatever happening is not happening to a somebody. It's just bubbles of information colliding. Maybe waiting for you as awareness to burst those bubbles through openness and not identification with how a particular energy feels. Then the piece that we seem to miss is the natural bliss when consciousness no longer has any content, but just openness. And I suggest to you that how I started this talk was that's what the scientist was discovering. Openness is all. Openness has no content, but is blissful love. Openness is pure, and openness is eternal and is not information. It's pure you. Because we could be going on for all eternity, letting information tell us who we are and gathering information and becoming that information. Are you over being information? your past information, your future hope information? Are you over that inflammation? Then you can be present openness. And present openness leaves the past open to be open, shining brightly here now. Leaves the future to be open, shining brightly here now. The rest is to be discovered, and it will never become information. It may become immediate life, love, bliss, depth. Forgiveness then is the understanding that the self is realizing itself here and now as us, as I. Is able to change the idea of its past, because even the past is open. It's able to change its idea of the future, because even the future is open. It's all now. There's not anyone here but the one love. Then life becomes exciting, dynamic. Things are finally possible in your own heart awareness. Your inner begins to dance in how you relate to what you deeply are. This begins to be naturally shared with other beings, as there are no others. Others are simply beings. And consciousness learns fast about what it is without any beginning or end. Mary, I'm going to open up your email and see if I can find it. Did you say it's here? On my messenger. So I'm just going to read Mary's very beautiful question. It's the first time I've read it, Mary. I might laugh. May I ask you, may I ask if you could if you could ask a question to Bernie? Oh, okay, for me. Okay, I got it. Last night I got up in the middle of the night to see a large cockroach on the bench. The fear that came up was intense. I put it under a glass and drank it. No, sorry, I put it under a glass and went to bed. while lying in bed, I heard Bernie say it came out to say hello. I experienced his words that he told me when I was at Ventura in Australia. I awoke this morning to see it was still alive. So I picked it up and put it outside in the garden. After that, I went back to bed and listened to a woman telling of her NDE. What's NDE?
Near-death experience.
Oh, is that NDE? It sounds more official. NDE. I was tearful not long after she started to explain her experience. I related to her experience when she said everything around us is not reality. And she said without any words where I am, and said she heard a voice saying she is home, and without doubt she knew it. As Bernie has told us so many times, could you ask Bernie to expand? I'm expanding. Mary likes it. You like that, Mary? To expand on this and how we can, without doubt, know this truth. We have to look what's so obvious. It's so obvious. Just check it first. Isn't it obvious that you are life? I mean, really make this obvious. As you life, you need to check your pulse on your neck. You are life. Are you a piece of life? Or is all the movement that you seem to see only outside of you, is that the life that comes from within you? If you didn't think and objectify, would you not testify? And you could say, I am life. It's not a belief. You can see that you're life. It's the mind that separates this form of life with other forms of life. But there's only one life, and it is I. I, who am listening, am that life. And all you really need to do is cease listening to the information of your mind telling you that you're separate from the cosmos, from the universe, from other. There are no other. Somebody sent me this. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to find it. I'll have a quick look to see if I can find it here. Somebody sent me this. It's Ramana Maharshi. Question, how should we treat others? Ramana, there are no others. There are no others. All is life. We tend to separate life into a form, like this skin is a barrier from the rest of life. As we really relax and see everything as it really is and not through the filters of past and future, we come upon that we are life, much more than life. We're source. And you can just keep going deeper, much more than source. You can go as deep as you want to go, but you'd have to truly stop, be present, and open. We have to cease the dualistic experience of content. In other words, what your mind says, what your feelings say. You have to stop listening to all of that. Instead of listening to content, feel the presence of your essential nature. Here now, it's underneath all things. It permeates all things. Now, as far as the voice goes, Mary, I only know one voice here. I am that. I am. That's all I know. I am that. And I can look at what appears to be others, and I know I am that. I only know that each of us is the same one. At different velocities of experience, different ways of experience, even different potentialities that are being moved. But each one of us is infinite potentiality. And truly, each one of us is the same one. Like 1,000, million faces of the same one. So when I hear that voice, to me, that's just another dimension, Mary, of your own innermost voice. That's you in a higher velocity or vibrational field. So when we cease listening to dualistic approaches to this life, which we're taught, you begin to listen to the song of your own heart, the vibration of your own heart, and how anything you can touch, the true vibration of your heart, is what you're tasting, what you're experiencing, what's vibrating. It's the mind that interprets that vibration through filters of identification as a somebody. So that voice is simply your innermost voice reminding you who you are. So we have to change the way in which we encounter this moment from an outside perspective to an innermost realization. Whatever seems to be happening outside, find it inside yourself. Let's try this. Let's try this. In this country that I'm sitting at in this moment, called New Zealand, there's a beautiful bird here. You know it, Mary. It's called a tui. And where I live down here, there's not too many of them. But I've just been doing a bit of traveling, and when I get to hear one or see one, I just have to stop in fascination of its melody, of its song, because it's not outside. It has a vibrancy that opens that same within. And you can go to where the bird, prior to manifesting in that form, is a vibrational frequency inside. But in the same way, when one is disturbed, often you want to push that disturbance away. as it's something out there, or you fear that disturbance, but you've forgotten that you are God. And God wants to discover all of God's creation. So it says disturbance, if it's coming from outside, wherever it's coming from, find its source within you and be still and know what you deeply are, not to get rid of it, but to open to its finer song. It's just being misinterpreted through a pattern of limitation. Everything that's going on in this world, everything that's going on in anybody's little self is simply a pattern of misinterpretation. We think that things are going on outside and we're victims of others, or we're victims of... So no, we're all God. We're not victims. We're the glorious power of love and presence for all eternity, discovering itself. That's what we are. So when there's something going on outside, your mind is, oh, you got to do this about that. You got to do about this about them. You got to do this. No, you got to do nothing other than find that inside your space and say, like you said, Mary, hello, cockroach. Hello, cocky cockroach. In other words, hello to a life that's beautiful. All life is beautiful. So say hello to it. Even a cockroach is a level of life that one could wonder at. See yourself as openness, wonder at how you actually exist, and how your mind interprets you is not you. And so when you say to your mind, oh, mind, 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 come on, mind, come into my arms, mind. We should do something about the come on, mind. But is it come on, mind, into my arms? Come on, mind, come, come. Ah, try it. There's parts of self we often want to run away from, but they're just our innermost children, seen through. Let's just call it filters that have gathered. Well, filters that have gathered create a really good party to come home to love's blessing, to find it in yourself, and it will integrate in yourself. That's the same as saying, remember what you are. So in our lives now, right? If you perceive yourself to have no power relative to what seems to be going on in your life, you've forgotten who you are. And you've forgotten what the other apparently is. The same one. Come in and be still and know that you are God, or awareness. because somehow each of us are riding the oceans of immense cosmic and divine possibility. We are God or awareness or source, finding how all this worked that came out of ourselves. So if you're ready to leave the third dimension alone, ready to release identification, I'll put something down here, to put yourself back into your own heart hands. Then cease seeing negatives as anything other than greater possibilities. And allow everything to integrate from your immediate presence. Somehow this today is to remedy your relationship with you. Who am I? The spheres of your pure creative consciousness will just bring back gift after gift after gift. Put yourself back in your hands. This is going to be the question you guys are about to share. What needs to come back into your hands about you, this moment, your apparent life, and other? What needs to come back into your heart hands? See you in a moment. Have fun. How you all doing there? Are you doing just fine? You might see that I've changed my voice for a moment because I wanted to be somebody else just for a little while. What'd you think of that, Carrie? How about you, Sarah? Do you like this voice? Maybe Raphael will use it in some music sometime. I really don't know. See, you can be anybody you want to be because really you're everybody. That's the goddamn truth. I like making you smile. It's good fun. Most people don't realize actually that we are, and just shifting the conversation a little, literally are interdimensional because we're source, but we're scared shitless. That was right. That's a good word. Scared shitless in being multi-dimensional in case we're not likable or acceptable to a society that wants to limit you to a set of rules and functions that you can identify with and remain small. None of us were ever created or born to be small. In fact, we're not created or even born. It's just that an appearance vibrational field of what we actually are is appearing here and now, and it's us. And there's not anybody on this call that doesn't have other faces, bodies, and places in their own consciousness. It just so happens that in this apparent three-dimensional field, it's only three-dimensional if one thinks of one in terms of space, time, and linear perception. When you don't think of yourself as space or time, you'll not have a linear perception. Suddenly you'll be vertical. Oh, look at that. That's peace. Isn't that? Look, vertical means peace. And suddenly, from what you actually thought you were, you transcend the limited perspective that you have of yourself. So you look at others, and what you actually see is yourself. You limit yourself in your relationship to yourself in how you relate to other than yourself. If you don't relate to other as yourself, the self, you'll limit yourself and you'll be confined to three dimensions. But when you love the other as yourself, you're no longer limited to three dimensions. And suddenly there's a coherence between you and the appearance of the other, which actually is a higher vibrational field of appearance of a higher dimensional you. But when two or more gather, there's more vibration possibility of higher dimensions, which are not information. It's not information, it's encodement from higher spheres, because literally your three dimensions will literally burn apart should you have not yet practiced the surrender of the idea that you're limited. Your brain would explode. Your psychology would just collapse simply because it could not take the higher frequencies of your interdimensional self relating interdimensionally with the appearance of others, for they're only an appearance. We're all an appearance of the same one. So I would say, here we go, that you, and you, you're an appearance of that one to bring to the third dimension higher dimensions. And you can't bring higher dimensions unless you give up the idea of how you've impressed yourself into three aspects: thought, feeling, and personalization of those three aspects. The first one you have to release is personalization of thought and feeling. That immediately sends you into higher dimensions. When you're not taking experience personally, suddenly you're released from the horizontal approach of trying to get to a greater life experience that's always on the horizon, hence the horizontal, right? It's always on the horizon. That's no good. It's always away from you. You want to be direct. That's vertical. And vertical is now. Yes? Now, sounds crazy that I've just switched from one vibration. Hi, how are you doing? Right? From that first little talk to this. Because what I want to put across to you is that if you don't change your past by just saying that you have no past, that's a third dimensional belief system, and that you have a future, which is a third dimensional belief system. There are third dimensional belief systems that you have a past and a future. No, you are the totality. You already have it all. You are already all. You are the all. Yeah? So when you see this, your past is suddenly open because you are open to more than three dimensions. Your future is already open because you are open to more than three dimensions. And then when you're open to more than three dimensions, in other words, you're open beyond the same response to the same relationship with your limited sense of self. That's what it is. It's got nothing to do with anybody else. When you've given that up, then there is no past. There is no future. You are the bright. You are the real. You are reality. And you are interdimensional. And on any dimension, you can pull up other dimensions. And that's cosmic, man. Divine, man. Suddenly, you're a different vibrational character. You're able to source this moment from your multi-dimensional perspectives of what's possible in here and now. Just happens to seem to be a human life. But already you're already creating what I'm going to call your next life. But not in the horizontal position, in the vertical. In other words, your next life is already here. That's what that guy is discovering. The scientist that I spoke of. I meant to bring my phone here and put it there for you to listen to what he's saying, but I forgot my phone. There's nothing that's not moved by what one essentially is. If you believe that you have a past and a future, all that you're sharing is information. Have a look at this time, in these times, how information is being forced on you. And so you're being forced to believe that you're information, but you're not information. You're actually faster than light. Light is far too slow for what one really is. Light is like beautiful paint. What you are is source of that paint. So the remedy, not that you need a remedy, is how you relate to you in what you hear, what you see, what you taste, what you experience. What is it that you need to enter in you? Because all this is a hologram of you, because you're the whole of this field. What do you see in that? Who would like to share what you're coming upon on this very beautifully wacky conversation? Invite you into a meditation for a moment. You can sit any way you like to sit. You can bring your hands any way you like to bring them. But really, when you put your fingers together, your hands, your fingers, are the dimensional possibilities that are in your existence right now. That's what a prayer is. Bringing your hands together is to realize the multi-dimensional aspects of your pure self. And we can take a long breath. And as you breathe in, truly feel the energies of what appears to be a body, the energies of what appears to be the mind, the energies of what appears to be the universe. So the vibration of your own pure heart. And the simple key to this is your acknowledgement of this truth. You are the pure heart already. It's not covered. It cannot be covered. It is eternal. And on one level, you can feel the body, as it were. It's like it's being rebooted into a multi-dimensional possibility. You have to do this. You have to reboot this humanness. And you can feel the crown of your head much, much vibrantly higher. And like circle upon circle that come from your third eye all the way up to a tip above your head, and then more circles coming up. It's rather like two pyramids on top of each other, tip to tip. And then you can feel the body as the expression of this profounder pulse of you. And there are many levels of the one light pulsing and recreating this humanness. Feel the open smile go right through your belly, right up through your heart, how it appears on your face. It is the smile of the innermost divine cosmic self. And it's from here you're no longer going to choose. This tuning in is completely set loose, that it can unfold itself as your human divine expression, quite naturally. And I invite you to turn your palms up and bring them slowly, slowly together in what could be called prayer, but not prayer for something, prayer as recognition of one's divine power, love, and living essence. A recognition of that as oneself and in all beings. And right here, I'm going to invite you all to come to Crete. This is where we're going to look at the form and its practice entirely different to manifest and build a new human. A human that doesn't have to set itself free, but realizes its inherent freedom. Don't have to go and find love, but discovers it is already that one love. Doesn't have to go and serve something. It is already the living service of the totality. This is what Crete's going to be about. Apart from laughter, belly aching laughter, apart from mad wild dance and sunshine and friendship and great love, I invite you all to come. Oh, don't forget the ouzo. In other words, we'll be oozing so much. Ouzo, we're going to ouzo. Much love to you all. Thank you for coming along. Much love. Realize that every one of us benefits the whole because we are the whole. We don't have to have any belief systems. We just have to love and know ourselves. That's enough. Much love. See you in Crete.